Body dysmorphic disorder, also known as body dysmorphia, is a mental health disorder wherein someone spends an unnatural amount of time worrying about the flaws in their physical appearance. Statistics show that 1 in 50 people suffer from body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia can affect anyone of any age. However, it typically starts between the ages of 12 and 13. So how is body dysmorphia caused? As we know, beauty standards have been set by the media worldwide.
Boys and girls often feel the need to feel accepted and validated by others or feel pressure to fit into the standards. So this can lead to teens and/or people in general to feel more conscious about their appearance, which can lead to body dysmorphia. To add on to that, social media, being impactful as it is able to give people the perfect outlet to bring people down without having to face the consequences. Negative comments online can easily ruin a person's self-esteem and make people feel despondent about themselves. Our aim is to raise awareness on body dysmorphia, concentrating mostly on those between the ages of 13 to 19 as they are generally the most affected by this disorder.
Body dysmorphia is a growing problem that has been present for years, yet has been overshadowed by many. It is especially impacting our generation due to the common and major use of social media. So what are the symptoms of body dysmorphia? There are many symptoms that come with body dysmorphia, some more subtle than others. These may include seeking reassurance from other people about their appearance to have self-confidence, avoiding social situations to prevent flaws from being visible or pointed out, being preoccupied in a flaw that may not be visible or noticed by anybody, believing that others take special notice of their appearance in a negative way, and attempting to hide perceived flaws with styling, makeup, or clothes. As body dysmorphia falls under the category of being an obsessive-compulsive disorder, its impact on people's daily lives can be heavy. Body dysmorphia may lead to extreme medical bills if they seek professional help, which can be quite expensive. Body dysmorphia can also cause a person to have difficulties in maintaining all sorts of relationships. They may also suffer from inability to function properly, or have uncontrollable negative thoughts about themselves, which can affect their self-confidence. They may also have a hard time with regular employment, as the condition may affect their output and their appearance to others in the workplace. They may also adapt to more disorders such as eating disorders, anxiety disorders, or obsessive-compulsive disorder. People with body dysmorphia may be unable to carry on with their lifestyle and mindset, which may drive them into self-harm or suicide.
To understand body dysmorphia better, we decided to interview a few professionals, including Mr. Matthew Scott, who's from Australia and has a master's degree in psychology, Dr. Vasindra Badwar, a cosmetologist from India, and Dr. Adriana Giotta, an Italian clinical therapist.
Hi, I'm Mr. Matt. I'm the principal at Middleton International. My background is in education primarily, but I also have a love of psychology. So I have a master's degree in education as well as a bachelor's degree in education, but I've also got a psychology degree, and I'm currently doing my honours year in psychology, primarily focusing on organisational psychology and how people interact in the workplace.
My name is Dr. Adriana Giotta. I am a clinical psychologist. I have an expertise actually in body image discontent and body dysmorphic disorder, having done a research in particular that lasted 30 years on the lived experience of fashion models and how that type of imagery and that type of pressures affect them and affect the larger population. My PhD is on this, and I'm now writing a book on it.
I'm Dr. Vasundhara. So I'm a dentist and I'm a cosmetologist. So I see each and every prospect of face, hair. I'm hair expert also, acne, whatever you think about aging, anti-aging. Everything I deal with.
Our first question is, do you think body dysmorphia is a growing problem? And what do you think is the main growing cause of it?
To answer specifically and precisely to this question, I think you will need to do a very thorough study. My sense, though, is that it certainly has been there in the rise for quite a while, and that is because the world is changing and is changing in ways ways that pushes towards some sort of ideals, developments of, for example, cosmetic surgeries and social media, all the technologies. More and more imageries are circulated, whether via social media of oneself or via the fashion industry and so forth, of body perfection and some standards of how one should look. And so people are constantly and unwittingly, even unconsciously, comparing themselves to these ways of being, ideals, and that doesn't make life easier in terms of self-acceptance, right?
Body dysmorphia is not usually clinically diagnosed. Why do you think it is not?
Because we are not aware of it. See, anything which we are aware of it can be diagnosed easily. See, doctors, they don't go so deep into that thing. If a doctor is having a OPD of say 100 patients nowadays, so he or she will not get his mind into it. They will ignore it. So that ignorance by a doctor can also be a fatal in this case.
My understanding, it closely correlates with a number of other disorders. And an aspect of it, from my understanding, is that people don't necessarily want to share it, so they keep it quite close to them. So often, if you don't diagnose fully your condition to a psychologist, so you might just say that you're feeling anxious and nervous and you're doing repetitive behaviours, they might think it's more obsessive compulsive disorder or maybe a social anxiety disorder. Whereas if you're not really explicit about your condition, how maybe it's related to the freckles on your face or your weight or something like that, then it can be easily misdiagnosed as something else.
What is something that people with body dysmorphia have in common that you see?
Okay, so one of the main things that obviously I see in common is the sense that there should be a way of being which is perfect, trying to perfect oneself. Another thing that I notice in people that struggle with this is the very core, is the self-loathe, not liking myself or not feeling likable or lovable, feeling maybe even hated or disgusting.
It's a really tricky question. I think all people have issues in terms of self-esteem and how we see ourselves. So I think body dysmorphia is at one end of the spectrum where it's repetitive, where sometimes it's disproportionate to reality. But I think all of us grow up and we look in the mirror and we check ourselves out. We think, do we look good? Are we ready to go? Obviously, there's a whole lot of other things in there in terms of self-esteem. But I do know that you can see that it's correlated with anxiety, but also going through body changes, which happen significantly during adolescence in terms of hormones and puberty, as your body changes as well.
Do you think body dysmorphia is a problem in your home country?
I know that there's been a significant increase. So when the psychology board produced their latest, which is called the DSM-5, which is how you basically categorise psychological disorders, there's a lot more disorders in there than ever before. So the diagnosis rate has gone up a lot, but it's difficult to say whether it's gone up because people are now talking about it more and they've got support. Maybe that issue was always there, but now they've got help. So it looks like the rates have gone up. So it's really tricky.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Why not? But there should be a solution to it. Any problem without solution is a problem, a big problem. If there is no solution, the problem becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. But yes, body dysmorphia has a solution. But what kind of people or doctors who can give the solution are around us? Maybe it's in Singapore, maybe it's in US, but in my home country, we don't have. Specifically, cities like Delhi, Mumbai might have, but when we talk about a whole homeland, right? It's not Delhi, it's not Mumbai, it's not Bangalore, it's like whole India. We do not have.
I personally think this is a problem more of the so-called developed countries. I personally feel that this is a problem that we are creating with our own sense of progressing through our development. Because if we do, I'm not an anthropologist, but I've read a little bit about tribes and they didn't have this kind of problems. But I don't know that, I've met some tribes in my travels, and I didn't observe them as being ashamed of body parts and stuff. They don't have time to focus on that. These are more kind of maybe socially constructed type of problems.
We created this website that compiles all our research on body dysmorphia. It showcases our impact on our community and how we managed to raise awareness about the topic. The survey results are also presented here, as well as the interviews we did with the general public on Orchard Road, Singapore. We managed to get multiple views of people from various countries. The case studies we researched on can also be found here, which include Singapore, 2 studies from India, the Philippines, and South Korea. These pages on the expert interviews give a general overview of their qualifications, but their interviews were previously in the video. Lastly, we made a page dedicated to support and organizations that specialize in body dysmorphia, which those who want to seek medical attention or advice can look through.
So, we started off by creating an Instagram page, as Instagram is one of the most used social media and an easy platform to reach our aimed audience. By creating our Instagram, we not only managed to raise awareness but also received positive feedback. Due to positive feedback we were receiving on our Instagram account, we thought that it would be great to host an awareness event.
We organized a short speech with students from our school, ranging from the ages of 13 to 16. During this speech, we were able to inform our fellow schoolmates about body dysmorphic disorder, starting with how it may come along, how it may affect people, symptoms of the disorder, and how they're able to help their loved ones who may suffer from it. We were able to do an interactive survey asking students to close their eyes or bow their heads and to raise their hand if the question asked applied to them. We did this to ensure that their answers remained unknown to their fellow peers, in case they may feel uncomfortable with sharing such information. With this, we were able to determine that around 60% of our peers think that mental health should be spoken about more in school, and that 36% of our peers feel comfortable talking about body dysmorphia with their friends and family. At the end of our event, we introduced them to our Instagram account and asked them to take our online survey.
Firstly, since our survey was anonymous, we asked participants for their age and gender, which concluded that roughly 2/3 of the respondents were female, between the ages of 13 and 18. When asked on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you understand about the topic of body dysmorphia, the majority lies in number 8, with 30.1%, followed by 7, with 19.2%, then 9 and 10, with 15.1% each. This allows us to believe that we were able to make an impact on the understanding of body dysmorphia after we spread awareness to the people who participated in our survey. After this, we asked if they happened to do any of the following behaviors because of their appearance. The options that most could relate to were constantly checking or avoiding mirrors at 54.8%, not believing when others say they look fine at 49.3%, and trying to hide body parts in their clothing or makeup at 47.9%. A significant amount of respondents at 27.4% say they don't find themselves doing any of these.
Next, we asked them how often they look at themselves in the mirror, and 42.5% said sometimes, while 23.3% chose a lot, and none of the participants chose almost never. After that, we asked if their mood is affected on the days they look at themselves in the mirror and they feel like they don't look their best. As seen here, almost 1 in 2 people picked yes, and this supports the fact that many people can be insecure and conscious about their body. When asked if they find themselves acting differently and fear that others may judge them based on how they look, yes all the time and sometimes had a combined 71.3%, or 52 responses. Next, we asked them if they feel others act differently because of what others might see them as, and this resulted in 60.3% saying yes and only 2.7% saying no. These were the responses of the participants to the question asking if they feel people are judged and treated differently because of how they look. Overall, the responses fell along the lines of yes, showing that it is seen in society and it is noticed by many. Lastly, we asked them if they felt comfortable talking about body dysmorphia, and while 67.2% said yes and 17.9% said no, there were a range of other answers like only with certain people, kind of, and depends on the depth. In conclusion, the survey and event talk was a success, and we were able to understand the viewpoint on body dysmorphia from our target age group, and were able to teach them more about it and raise awareness to those who previously didn't know about it.